Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. So Parker wants to know, what is y'all's thought on, I didn't realize you were Southern, Parker, but he wrote out y'all's. What is y'all's thoughts on the COVID vaccine? There's a lot of hesitancy, including from my own parents, some due to the Wakefield paper, some due to other things. Do you all recommend it?
Well, it is definitely too soon, Parker. So the COVID vaccine has absolutely nothing at all to do with prior papers or vaccines. Nothing at all. In fact, this vaccine, we have never built anything that even slightly resembles how this vaccine works. It's the very first time that we've ever produced an mRNA vaccine. And this is kind of important because prior vaccines, like you referred to Wakefield, whose paper was on the MMR, and he was very particularly involved with the measles vaccine. But and prior other vaccines like the DTaP or even polio or any of these types of vaccines all have to do with giving the body a very, very small amount of the disease so that the body reacts to it and then builds antibodies towards that disease. So when we're talking about mumps, you are getting a tiny amount of mumps actually when you're given the MMR vaccine, and mumps, measles, and rubella all together, and your body then builds antibodies. You react to it, right? And then your body, because it's such a tiny bit, your body conquers that. That is, historically has been very, very difficult for a lot of people in the world of autism, because there are a lot of individuals, and there's quite a little bit of evidence actually, that the vaccines did cause injury to some individuals, right? If that didn't exist, we wouldn't have all of these families who are getting actually money for the damage that was made to their children. So I actually believe that there are some children who did get injured with one vaccine or another simply because their immune system was not able to fight the vaccine in a way that it produced antibodies and was therefore successful at fighting. In fact, their immune system was injured by it. So that is the past. This is a different type of vaccine. We know nothing about what this vaccine does. This vaccine is an mRNA vaccine. That means you're not getting a small amount of the COVID virus, of the coronavirus at all. What you're getting is a messenger RNA, which goes into your genetic structure and modifies your genetic structure so that you start producing antibodies. It is not a reaction to an external piece of the virus. It is a message. It's a message to your body saying, can you please produce some antibodies to this particular virus? So we don't know how this vaccine will affect us long term. Anyone, even people with a very, very healthy immune system. We don't know how it will affect us genetically. We know nothing about it. It was just produced, right? So, but please don't let it. It definitely is in a different ball game than the past vaccines. That's important to understand because the way that it works is very different. Will this current way that it works have a positive or negative effect long term? We just don't know. The question to balance it with, I think, for parents is, this is an unknown. We don't know if the vaccine, what it will do in the long term. It's unknown. What we do know is that in the short term, it prevents at a very high percentage your likelihood of catching this particular coronavirus, right? So COVID-19, you will at least be safe from that. So what are the harms of COVID-19? And we don't know everything there is to know there either, but we are 1 year ahead at least, right? People started catching this in beginning of 2020. And 1 year ahead, what the literature shows so far is that different populations will get over it at different lengths. We don't know exactly. We know that the more ill you are when you get it, the higher risk of not overcoming it. One of the things that we don't know is what are the long-term issues if you've overcome COVID? And there's a lot of literature on this developing now. It just hasn't been long enough. But there is a little bit of research showing that there might be some long-term deficits or things that we have to overcome. Mental deficits, like it does impact memory, it does impact some of the kind of the speed of set shifting in your brain, those types of things. But those are things that potentially could also improve with time. We just don't know. So it's this over, it's two unknowns right now. And I think a lot of people are choosing one or the other. It's kind of like, well, I guess I'll risk it. And I'm also willing to stay at home and protect myself as much as I can. I'd prefer to do this. And others are saying, I'm losing my mind. I'm depressed. My family's depressed. I got to get out there. I have a relatively decent immune system. I'm going to go out there and do it because I need to go back to life. And so these are personal choices that everybody has to make. And it's very hard because there's no real literature there enough. It's a very new thing we're dealing with.
Yes, and I'm very fond of reminding everybody that, we should all be educating ourselves. And it's so wonderful to hear an expert like Dr. Grant-Pichet talk about it. But at this moment in time, on February 3rd in 2021, there is no vaccine that the FDA has approved for children. So, so we're still in a holding pattern, waiting to hear if, now I realize that, people are looking at it, the parents, and we have adults, both on and off the spectrum, who are asking this question. But I like to keep pointing that out. I also want to point out, because so that we don't get mail that, even with all the things that you said, I don't want to speak for you, but I certainly don't consider myself anti-vaccine. I think when you have questions, people love to go, boom, you're anti-vaccine. And I think that we have to move away from that kind of black and white thinking. I think everyone is entitled to have questions, and it doesn't mean that you are anti-vaccine. Vaccines are very important, and I am thrilled that they're working so hard on the vaccines, and there are a number of vaccines, and they are not all equal and even. They do different things, and are 1 shot, 2 shot, and the AstraZeneca one is vastly different, but we don't have that in the United States yet. It is on the old model. I didn't realize this until the other night. When I was doing research, the AstraZeneca is on the old model of vaccines that you were talking about. But they only have that in Europe right now. It's not approved here in the United States until potentially April. So it's interesting. But just to be clear, we're not anti-vaccine. We're smart people asking smart questions. And I'm only speaking for myself. Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.